Yo, what's good, guys? It's your boy Jake Diggy here. Today it's time to start my Reworked Series. This is a huge multi-part video project where I will be discussing how, in my opinion, how this will be reworked, rewritten, Frank White, the entire series. The purpose behind this project is because I saw that Airgear had so much potential, but in the end, we saw the results. Check out my Airgear review video if you wish to see my full thoughts on the series as a whole. In my version of the reworked Airgear series, 80% will be similar to the anime and 20% will be similar to the manga. Since it's approximately 100 chapters for the anime and the manga is 357 to 358 chapters, you guys can see the difference. Due to this fact, I had a hard time deciding how to do the anime arc since there are only minor changes in the story. But that's when one of my boys, shout out to Jake, told me that I should just go into detail of each individual arc, because most likely people won't have seen the anime, so people would be very confused. Therefore, I decided to do this. This video right here will be the big summary of the anime arcs, and then the future Airgear rework videos will be each arc from the beginning of the story to the end. Now that I explained everything, let's begin. Now, before I begin the actual anime arcs, let me tell you guys some changes that I have made throughout the entire story. First, there are only 8 rogues and 8 kings. That's it. Including 8 regalias. That's it. There shouldn't be like so many different rogues and sub regalias. Get that shit out of here. 2 doesn't exist, which means the Plex Queen or the Ring Rogue doesn't exist. Instead, it'll be another rogue. Okay? And this rogue will be the Aqua Rogue, where there will be the Water Queen. We'll get to that stuff later. Now, another thing is that this entire story needs to take place in a fantasy type of land, not in real life places like Japan in the original story. But because of this, some people can just expect some crazy stunts that the Storm Mines perform and all that type of situation. Now let's move on to the characters. Ume doesn't exist. Nakayama doesn't exist. Emily, which pains me to say this, doesn't exist. And gravity children involving brain charges and all that ridiculousness doesn't exist. All the other characters in the story will either just stay the same character, which is hardly anyone honestly, or the characters will be completely rewritten, or they just won't be in the story at all. Any other changes will be told throughout the reworked version of Airgear. I don't think I need to say this, but of course there is fan service reduction to the highest level, to the wazoo, from the original series, without question. Also, there is no battle levels or power levels in this series, as they were introducing this series. Just none of that. Get that shit out of here. Before I move on, if people who wish to see the Airgear anime, or people who don't want to watch the anime, but only this reworked version of the series, leave the video. Just leave. Just leave the video. After you comment, like, subscribe, okay. Okay, but for those of you who have seen the Airgear anime, then this video will be your best bet to experience all the changes that have been made in the anime arcs. Now that everyone understands, let's begin. Now, in the beginning of the anime, we get introduced to the characters along with their age, and we realize how screwed up their ages are. Like, it's really messed up. In my version, Iki and Ringo are 17 years old, Mikan is 22, and Rika is 28. Iki lives in a foster family where Rika is the foster mom, and Ringo and Mikan are the foster sisters. As Iki runs away from the house, we get a flashback of what happens before showing the Skullsayers kicking Iki's ass. We first see the school. 2 years ago, the Skullsayers came to the school and conquered it, and ruled the schools during those years. Things were getting worse, because the Skull Sailors were taking students away from their parents because they didn't give them protection money. However, it gets better once their teacher, Orihara, shows up. And because of Orihara, something happened where the Skull Sailors just temporarily just left for a moment. At this point, this is where we start to learn things about the world of ATs. ATs are considered illegal in the world because of how dangerous it is to misuse them. Storm Riders, including Storm Rider teams, are gangs who use ATs for battles. The police are doing everything they can to try to stop them, but since there's a limit to what they can do and there being infinite crime, you guys get the gist. There is a scenario where the Skull Sailors antagonize Ikki and the group, but Mr. Orihara came to save them. That is where Ikki decided to take on the Skull Sailors, which of course leads to the anime where Ikki getting his butt kicked by the Skull Sailors. Throughout the arc, there are moments where Ringo, Mika, and Simka cites Ikki's potential to become a very strong Storm Rider, in other words, a king. Now, the introduction to Air Track arc goes all the way through the introduction of Inuyama and the Red Bull Dogs. Everything else up to that point is the same as the anime to a degree, meaning the fan service reduction to a high level of what I spoke earlier. Everything is the same in the Butcher arc except for the fan service reduction. There's no bashing. Get that shit out of here. The important things you need to learn in the arc is the class system, which ranks Storm Riders from A to F, the Parks War, the official term for battles, learning F-class battles like Dash and E-class battles are Hurdle, which is going over obstacles. Learning about the 8 kings and the 8 rogues and who rules them. Learning about the fact that the original 8 kings formed a team together, and that team was Sleeping Forest, and Ringo was the successor to that team. Also, Spitfire's figure doesn't get revealed until he is formally introduced. Now, in the Agito arc, everything is the same. Get introduced to Akito, the G-Man, you name it. Alright, so now in the Kogurasumaru arc. Everything is the same in the Kogurasumaru arc except for a couple of details. Onigiri. His pervertedness knows no bound and it's even worse than Sanji and Jiraiya. For the sake of Onigiri, we will keep him as a put, but it's way less. And for those of you who watch the anime, you know what I'm talking about. Way less than the original. Also show Kaito talking to Rika and paying her rent for Akito to stay at her place. And show Kaito talking to Orihara so that Akito can transfer to Ikki school. Also, there is no loser goes home naked bullshit bet. Get that shit out of here. The bet is just their emblems and their area. This is an arc where Ikki forms his team, Kogurasumaru, and has their first battle. The Sora's introduction arc. Now, everything is the same in the Sora's introduction arc, except for a couple of details. In the battle, Sora needs to say to Ikki, Rika is a legendary monster. You better be ready to give it your all, even if it means killing her. Of course, Ikki's like, huh? Because he gets confused because it's kind of weird. But Sora just jokes around. And the way he was introduced in the beginning, you can find he says a joke, but something is a bit off. Another moment is where Ikki whines like a pussy because he won't be able to follow his dreams anymore. No, he doesn't whine. Instead, he doesn't give up. Stop making him a whiny little crybaby. Stop. Get that shit out of here. This is the arc where you learn about the original Sky King Sora and the original Thorn Queen Rika, as well as getting a bit of history on the original Sleeping Forest. Now, in the Behemoth arc, there's some changes. Okay? The Butcher vs. Hekatonka's fight is longer, even though the end result is the same. During the Aang vs. Kazu fight, there was a scene in the manga where Spitfire was shocked the moment that Kazu disappeared, and he notices his speed, and then he smiles. That's very important. And there's another moment, which is actually a flashback panel, where we see a little bit of Aang and Spitfire's relationship, where Aang sticks up the middle finger at Spitfire, saying that one day he will kill him and become the new Flame King. The Onigiri vs. Gorgon fight is actually a fight, not that fan service fiasco we saw in the anime. And of course, Onigiri rings due to his purge mode that he has. When Ringo confronts Simka, there is actually a mini clash that serves them riding and not fighting. Also, the moment where Simka told Ringo to stop helping Kogurasumaru, this effectively writes out croissant mask out of the story. That's how you find out. You get that shit out of the story. Okay. Now we move on to the biggest change, which is Agito versus Akira. Before the battle begins, we must go into the backstory. This backstory is completely different from the anime or the manga. For the sake of this video, I will summarize it. 2 years ago, Agito was a fan king, not Akira. Both Agito and Akira were in the same police force, and they were best friends. Now we move on to the biggest change, which is Agito versus Akira. Before the battle begins, we must go into the backstory. This backstory is completely different from the anime or the manga. For the sake of this video, I will summarize it. 2 years ago, Agito was the fan king, not Akira. Both Agito and Akira were in the same police force, and they were best friends. Back in those times, all storm miners were wanted dead or alive. Akira and Agito hunted storm miners together. One day, Akira met a girl named Ren, and he fell in love with her instantly. After spending time with each other, both Akira and Ren were in love. Akira spent half of his time hunting with Agito, while the other half of the time with the girl he loved. On a fateful night, Agito killed a storm rider in front of a shadowy figure, and that shadowy figure turned out to be none other than Ren. Of course, Ren was like, that was her brother. She was filled with sorrow and anger, and Agito didn't give two shits about that. After a while, Akira didn't see Ren for 3 months, and he finally met her. Ren told Akira everything about her brother's death and how she mourned. Now who killed her? At that moment, Ren asked Akira what he did in life. Since Akira trusted her and was madly in love with her, he told her everything about storm riders, ATs, regalias, kings, you name it. As time went on, Agito was challenged by a storm rider for the throne. Akira was saying that once he's done with his day, he will come to watch his battle. After all, he is his best friend. At the date site, we see Akira looking for Ren, but she isn't there. He even called her cell, but she didn't pick up. Due to this, he thought that Ren would just call him, and he decided to go see Agito's battle. At the battlefield, we see Agito waiting for his opponent, who is shown to be a shadowy figure. As Akira arrives to the battlefield, that shadowy figure is revealed to be none other than Ren. Akira was in pure shock. He couldn't comprehend what happened. His best friend is going to fight his lover. In that moment, Akira immediately jumped down into the middle of the fight to understand what is going on. Ren explained that Agito was the one that killed her brother, and she is here for revenge. Agito explained that Ren is fooling Akira in order for her to get closer to the Fang Regalia. Akira took a moment to process this, but it was too painful for him to bear. He had to make a choice. Either he chooses his best friend or his lover. In that moment, Akira hugged Ren, telling her that he would take her burger. Akira then turned around and faced Agito, saying that he is the one that's challenging the Fang King. Agito couldn't believe what was going on, but he had no choice but to fight. Now you get to see this fight, and this fight is insane. It needs to be a similar type of fight like Kakashi vs Obito or Oliver Queen vs Slade Wilson, where they fight in the past, and then they go to the present, and then they go back to the past, and then they go back to the present, and they continue the fight. You get the point. In that fight, in the past, Agito didn't use the Fang Regalia because he couldn't bring himself to truly hurt his friend. However, that backfired, and he lost the fight in the past. In that moment, Akira became the new Fang King, while Agito lost his right. Akira took the Fang Regalia, and he went to search for Ren, until he eventually found her. Ren was on the phone, talking with the shadowy figure on the other side of the phone. She started spouting out stuff like, Akira, don't make me laugh. He's madly in love with me. I can get the Fang Regalia from him any time I want. The shadowy figure hung up the phone, and during that entire moment, Akira heard everything, and he couldn't believe his eyes. Akira was angry, So he quickly went to Ren and held her with her neck hold. As Ren was choking, Akira was saying how Ren destroyed his heart, and for all of this was some stupid vendetta. He was even forced to fight his best friend because of Ren. Akira timed the neck hold as he cried, saying, "Farewell, Ren," and he snapped her neck. Ren died. Rest in peace! And Akira just fell to the ground and cried. Akira lost his best friend and his lover. He was broken for a bit, eventually quit the police force and changed the underground coliseum and created Behemoth as it is known in the present. Due to those events, that is why Akira always wanted to have another shot at Agito to settle this once and for all. That's the end of the backstory, and the rest of the Behemoth arc plays out exactly the same as the anime. Also, there was a moment in the anime where Ren was in the battle. She is not there in this version, because she already died. Now, there was also a moment where Iki and Mitsuo have a final punch clash. Mitsuo's punch, as he attacked the weights that he was wearing from Rika, and Shara cracked the weight, and that weight Shara fell to the floor. So by that point, all the weight that he was wearing is gone. And for Akira, as he got arrested, he stays in jail. He needs to stay in jail. That's all there should be for the changes in the Behemoth arc. Most of the things in the Genesis arc is the same, but there's a lot of lore changes in my version. This is what you would call the first shift of the story, where Iki becomes the leader of Genesis, a huge team which rivals Sleeping Forest. First, let's talk about the entrance of the Thunder King of the Rising Road. New Way. I'm just gonna call him New Way. His entrance will be the same as the anime, but his lore is completely different. First, New Way destroys Iki when Iki gets cocky. Second, we learn that he was able to hold his title of being the Thunder King without being on any teams. Sleeping Forest and Genesis asked New Way to join their team, but he refused them unless he made him the leader. Now the rest of the arc plays out how it will play in the anime, where Iki is chosen to be the leader of Genesis. Also, there's a moment where Simka has her haircut. She does not have a haircut of importance. It doesn't happen. It's just Simka executing her plan. Due to the fact that Iki's being way over his head of the whole Genesis thing, Bucha has some issues with Iki because he doesn't realize what the hell he's doing. There's a scene in the manga where Kazu takes the others to a spot where Iki's trains. This is a very good thing because it shows that he wasn't just getting better from battle experience. He practices on his own as hard as he can to improve. Now, since he was chosen to become the leader of Genesis, Iki's relationship with Mikon and especially Ringo started to dwindle a bit. After that, Iki learned the truth that Genesis is supposed to crush Sleeping Forest and destroy Ringo. He needed some advice. To get this advice, he decided to go and see Sora. This is a moment where we learn many things when it comes to the lore, as he tells Iki everything we need to know. Genesis is one of the strongest teams in the world with 50,000 riders under them and 3 kings. Sleeping Forest, however, is the strongest team in the world with 50,000 riders under them. Both teams have huge influences all around the world. The Trapime Tower is a symbol of sorts that ranks all the teams from weakest being at the bottom of the tower and the strongest being at the top. Since Sleeping Forest is at the top of the Trapime Tower, that means that the number 1 team is Sleeping Forest, and Genesis wants to crush Sleeping Forest so that they can be the number 1 team. The reason why Sleeping Forest and Genesis are so powerful is because they hold large amounts of territories as well as having many teams under them. A good example of a team that's under Genesis is Behemoth, and everyone knows how powerful they are. If Sleeping Forest and Genesis were to ever battle, then the battle power in the world of ATs will be completely obliterated. The world that the Stormwatch live in is made up of 4 parts: the north side, the east side, the west side, and the south side. It's their territory. Sleeping Force controls all the south and the west sides. That means that Genesis should control the east and the north sides. However, things are different because Behemoth is the one that controlled the east side, and Behemoth is under Genesis. But since Behemoth got disbanded, Kogo Asumaru now controls all the east side, and Genesis doesn't have that territory. However, if Kogo Asumaru becomes the leader of Genesis, then they will get the east side territory back. That's not the only thing they'll get back. They'll also get the Fan King. Not only that, Genesis will also invest in Ikki becoming the next Sky King. If Ikki rises to the throne, they will potentially get 5 kings on their team, and that could give them the might to defeat Sleeping Force once and for all. The Ring Road itself is a special case because riders who can ride the Ring Road are very rare. As of right now, there are only 2 in existence that can ride the road, and that is Ikki and Sora. That's why Simka is so interested in Ikki and planning for all this to happen after the loss of Behemoth. However, throughout these 2 powerful teams, there is a wild card, and that wild card is the Thunder King of the Rising Road, Muin. If Muin refused to join Sleeping Force in Genesis, don't you think they would have forced the Thunder King to join them? The problem is that they can't, because that's how powerful the Thunder King is. Sleeping Force or Genesis could defeat the Thunder King if they wanted to, but there would be huge casualties in the process. If either one of those teams are weakened, then the opposing team will take that opportunity and wipe them out. Since both teams know this, they won't be able to touch the Thunder King then. Sora even states himself, even if he was in his prime, it would be difficult to defeat the Thunder King in a one-on-one fight. After Ikki learns all the facts he needed to know, he's reminded that what Ikki wants to do, what he wants to accomplish. After thinking about it for quite a bit, Ikki got a revelation of what he wanted to do. Moving on, Ikki gathered his team and told them his plan. All Ikki wants to do is have fun with ATs, gain more territory, bag all the Storm Riders, and become the strongest team in the world. Remember, he doesn't care about being the Sky King of the Regalia. So he decided to become the leader of Genesis. But in 1 year, he will declare war on Genesis and show them what they're really made of. They will make Genesis bow down to them themselves, and not have Kogo Asumaru follow Simka's will. Now in this conversation, no other team knows about this plan, only Kogo Asumaru. So that means Ringo doesn't know about this either. Because of this, the relationship between Ikki and Ringo is still rocky. Everything else is the same. Now, the Trial arc is the same as the anime with some minor differences. First, the relationship between Ikki and Ringo will be mending a bit to the point where they are at least able to talk to each other, however it's still shaky. Second, they will try to explain the overworld in the anime, but it should be brief. The full details of the world shouldn't be revealed just yet. It should just be that right now the overworld can absorb wind and fire it right back. Yoshitsune needs to use the power of the Rumble Regalia to absorb the Fang because that came from the Fang Regalia. At the end of the big jump, Sora is there watching the battle, and he says, "Not bad, kid." That's all, everyone. All the anime arcs have been covered. Holy shit, that was a lot of arcs. Now the next set of videos will be each of the anime arcs in full detail. So for those of you who stuck around to hear all the changes in the anime arcs, you'll have to wait a while till I get to the next arc after the Trial arc. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, so comment, like, subscribe, and stay frosty, guys. Stay frosty. At this point, this is where we... Wow, love the phone calls. Also, so Akito, just Kaito, not Akito, oh my god. Okay. Oh my god.